Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, Kior says its biofuels plant in Columbus, Mississippi is mechanically complete and it may break ground on another in Natchez next year.
Mississippi agricultural officials met recently to commemorate more than a century of effort to identify the type of every acre of soil in Mississippi.
In Southern gardening, backyard resorts. Build your own and a vacation is just outside your back door.
In the markets, conflicting signals on the vitality of the cattle sector as summer approaches. And corn holds its ground as other grains and oilseeds see their prices slide.
In the feature segment, Charles Dismukes, the present Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year. Dismukes knew from an early age that he planned to grow trees and work in forestry.
I tell you, my attitude is that if they told me I wasn't going to live but 2 more weeks, I'd want to plant some trees before I left. And if we don't do that, future generations won't have it.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
A next-generation biofuels manufacturer in Mississippi reports its facility is complete.
Leighton Kior Incorporated of Pasadena, Texas says its Columbus plant is mechanically complete and preparations are being made to bring the plant into operation. Kior says this phase of the plant startup was completed on or slightly under its $222 million budget and ahead of schedule. It will take 6 to 12 months to get the plant from startup to running at full capacity. The Kior plant will use southern pine wood fiber to make what the company calls renewable crude. This product can be refined using standard equipment into gasoline, diesel, and other types of fuel. Kior says the Columbus plant will eventually produce more than 11 million gallons a year, which can be blended with conventionally produced fuels. At full capacity, it will use 500 tons of dry weight wood fiber per day. Kior is proceeding with its plans for another plant at Natchez. It will be 3 times the size of the Columbus facility. BiofuelsDigest.com reports that Kior is finalizing the financing for the Natchez facility. It may break ground next year and become operational in mid to late 2014.
It's a job that took 114 years to complete. When you learn what it involved, you may not be surprised. Each of the over 30 million acres of soil in the state of Mississippi was surveyed and mapped. The project was just completed late last year. A ceremony recognizing the many people and agencies that had a hand in this massive undertaking took place recently in Jackson. It was called the Last Acre Celebration. It took many people working alongside the Natural Resources Conservation Service to complete a statewide soil survey in Mississippi.
It is a cooperative effort of a lot of different groups and agencies involved to carry out this activity. Thank you to our land grant institutions, to Mississippi State University and Alcorn State for the work that they've done.
David Petrie from Mississippi State University, wearing the tie and dark sport coat, is one of those who was involved in the survey many years. Now retired, the former Mississippi Agricultural and Forestry Experiment Station soil scientist says that even though agriculture is the #1 industry in the state, people don't realize the wealth of soils in Mississippi. Petrie says 8 of the 12 soil types found in the world are located in Mississippi. Examples of many of the state's soils were on display at the celebration. Now that every acre has been mapped, the next phase of the soil survey begins, refining the database to make it even more useful. Mississippi State Professor Billy Kingery, the soil survey liaison, says that evolving land uses coupled with new MAFIS research will partly dictate how the database is refined and customized in the future.
There'll be increasing use, as we know that there are more local farmers emerging in Mississippi, more local community and farmers markets. That dictates some new land uses, and so both the Extension Service and the Agriculture Experiment Station, through the use of that information, is going to dictate what this becomes in the future.
Information on the soil survey of Mississippi and other states can be accessed on the internet at websoilsurvey.nrcs.usda.gov. From Jackson, Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting.
Well, almost everyone wants a relaxing backyard. Today, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us a backyard that is more than relaxing. It's like taking a trip to a tropical resort.
I really love a garden that's both relaxing and beautiful. Today I'm visiting this resort-like landscape. The pool is framed with this gorgeous bed of annual color. The blues, purple, and silver add to the restfulness of the water. Behind the pool area, turtle and alligator containers are perfect selections. Sweet potato, lysomachia, and bronze-leaf begonia are good planting partners. The blue fescue ornamental grass is an unusual but effective choice for the thriller plant in this turtle planter. This landscape bed is a great example of highlighting color using foliage. The red, pink, and green tricolored ginger glows in the backlight of the morning sun. I love the terracotta frog hiding underneath the white Christmas caladium. Heavy use is made of combination containers, such as this trio featuring the sago palm with the sweet potato flowing from the top and contrasting red verbena and petunia. There are other good container combinations, including this red geranium and ornamental kale, or these combination containers of kale, sweet potato, and petunia. Though the emphasis of the landscape is ornamental, a small herb and vegetable garden is tucked into a corner. The green and red cabbage with flowering cilantro adds a homey character. And I like the use of mint and oregano as fragrant and culinary ground covers. We've only just begun to show you the beauty and variety of this magnificent backyard. This is truly an amazing landscape. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says a little work can turn your backyard into a place where you can get away from it all, even if it's for only a few minutes. Definitely a beautiful place. Yeah. Well, in the feature segment, we have a North Central Mississippi man who got his start in forestry through Mississippi 4-H. Charles Dismukes had a forestry project, won a national 4-H award, and never looked back. Well, now it is time for the markets with Leighton. You say we had some mixed signals from the cattle sector.
That's right, Artist. Two different reports, one positive, one negative. We'll have that story in a moment. Also, since our last program, U.S. catfish processing is still down. Dry weather in Russia drives up wheat prices, while huge stocks drive cotton prices lower. We begin with conflicting reports about cattle. The May 18th Cattle on Feed report and Tuesday's cold storage report each told a different story about the beef sector. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley joined me in studio on Wednesday to sort out what it all means for producers and their industry. John Michael, Tuesday the 22nd, we had a cold storage report out, and the bullet point seems to be that was bearish for cattle. Let's go into detail there.
Quite a bit. The market has reacted accordingly. Inventories appear to be growing in terms of frozen beef, both boneless and bone-in, up 17% versus a year ago, 3% month over month, 517.5 million pounds of beef in cold storage. So, as I said, those inventories seem to be growing. It points to maybe a lack of movement of beef into retail stores. So that never does look good from a demand picture. That's especially as we move into grilling season. That's not the news you want to be getting, and it hasn't looked very good if you look at prices today in the market after the report was released. So the market is kind of taking this as maybe an indication of lack of consumer confidence? Not so much confidence, but just lack of movement. So consumers just apparently aren't picking beef up at the retail meat case like they have been. Mm-hmm. All right, we had a second major report out since in the last 7 days, and that was a cattle on feed report last Friday. What did those numbers tell us? The numbers told us the opposite of what the cold storage did. A bullish report, cattle on feed for the first time in 2 years dropped or below year-ago levels, down about 6%, just over 11 million head of cattle on feed and feedlots over 1,000 capacity. Placements down pretty hard. That was pretty much expected. Placements down about 15%. So we are continuing to see declining supplies of beef cattle and feedlots, and that report was bullish. But the market didn't seem to, I was shaking my head as most were when the market reacted negatively on Monday. Didn't seem to point to a negative reaction from the market.
So what are we to take away after this week when you kind of got conflicting reports here about the cattle sector?
Well, it is conflicting reports. The cold storage, you hate to see these inventories grow, but the fact is that we're going to continue to see declining numbers of head of cattle in feedlots, which should reduce the total inventories of beef. Declining gas prices is another thing that we like to see from a consumer demand side, but it's going to be moving into grilling season with these rising inventories. You don't like to see that.
Because until supplies start dwindling down enough, that might help prices somewhat.
We should see that, but we're just not currently today we're not seeing that.
We shift from cattle to the pond bank now, where U.S. catfish prices were down a little from March to April, but still above year-ago levels. These numbers from the USDA were released Monday the 21st and are for the month of April. The average pond bank price paid to U.S. producers was $1.17 per pound. That is down 3 cents per pound from March, but still 2 cents above 1 year ago. Now, farm sales totaled 22.5 million pounds round weight, a decrease of 5% from April 2011. Processor sales totaled an even 12 million pounds, a drop of 14% from April 1 year ago. Our trivia quiz will transition us into the row crop side of the markets, and here's this week's question. What is the official state soil of Mississippi? Is the answer red clay, prairie, Natchez silt loam, or sandy loam? We'll tell you in a few more minutes.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports on the wheat, cotton, and corn markets. In the feature segment today, Charles Dismukes, the Mississippi Tree Farmer of the Year. He started tree farming at age 13. He formed his own timber business, but he never stopped tree farming.
MSUcares.com is a popular website offering coordinated access to Mississippi State University's research and extension system. Now we have a Spanish language version of MSUcares.com where you'll find newsletters, brochures, and publications. Plus, you can view Spanish language videos on topics including credit, finances, and immunization. Visit MSUcares.com today and click on the En Español link for useful Spanish language information.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. A native grass and cattle field day will take place May 31st at the Prairie Unit of the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station. That's located on Highway 382 west of Aberdeen. The hours are 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's no registration fee and lunch is provided, but you are requested to pre-register. The sessions will deal with managing native grasses for cattle, planting, growing, making hay, and wildlife benefits will be covered. The 2012 North Mississippi Grazing School will take place on Friday, June 29th. Location is Mississippi State University's North Mississippi Research and Extension Center on Highway 145 at Wynonna. Rotational grazing, electric fencing, financial programs for grazing, hay, and beef cattle marketing will be covered. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now let's check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Wheat contracts were caught up in a commodity-wide sell-off tied to the Eurozone debt crisis at midweek. But wheat had been sharply higher until that point, primarily due to dry weather around the globe, particularly in Russia. Analyst Naomi Bloom says the bounce that the weather concerns produced for wheat was certainly welcome.
That market had been oversold, it needed the bounce, and so you saw mostly short covering, which propelled the market higher. Now we've got the Chicago wheat and the Kansas wheat at $7 resistance, with the Minneapolis wheat with $8 resistance, and that's likely to hold for the time being. The situation in Russia, it is serious. The last time this happened in 2010, it decimated a third of their crop, and that did make the market rally. Now, at the same time, we do have ample supplies yet globally, so that's going to keep some pressure over us. And the crop here in the U.S. for the winter wheat is still rated 60% good to excellent compared to a 10-year average. The 10-year average is 47% good to excellent, so we have crop.
Huge world stocks continue to be the anchor around the neck of the cotton market, so to speak, as the end of May approaches. December futures fell below 68 cents at one point Wednesday. Analysts say concerns about a weakening Chinese economy and lost market share are other factors driving the cotton lower. A strengthening dollar also not helping the negative sentiment there. Of course, pressure from the dollar has been a problem all across commodities this week. Arkansas Farm Bureau analysts reported through AgFacts that corn was about the only crop holding its ground heading into Thursday, our Farm Week production day. Midwest trader Jamie Kohaki recently had this assessment of what he sees happening in the corn pit.
We're range bound here. I think we're in a broad 30 to 40 cent choppy range bound trade, I think, till mid-June when we see more weather and see if El Nino pans out or not and how dry it does get. But 530 to 540 is a top side right now, new crop in my opinion, unless you throw in some weather somewhere. Like you're saying with these large acres, large carry out, pushing the 12-13 carry, maybe up around 1.8. That puts a crimp into the red D's, the 13 Christmas contract. I would be seller up in there at 540 as well here for short term until weather turns more bullish.
Just before the feature, here's the answer to our trivia quiz. The correct choice this week is C. Natchez Silt Loam was designated the official state soil by the Mississippi legislature in 2003.
In today's feature segment, the Mississippi Forestry Association's Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year. The Call of Forestry found Charles Dismukes of Kilmichael early in his life. He began tree farming at the age of 13 and eventually followed a career that saw him form his own timber company, work to further forestry on a national, state, and county basis. This story first aired on Farm Week last fall.
My management plan goes out 15 years now. From 2010. I updated it in 2010 and it goes out 15 years from there. Now I have had some kind of a management plan since for at least 60 years.
Charles Dismukes and his wife Carolyn live on their 1,158-acre registered tree farm northwest of Kilmichael, Mississippi. Mr. Dismukes grew up on the original 105 acres first purchased by his grandfather. Registered in 1959, the tree farm has trees ranging from just planted to more than 60 years. Dismukes has not only tree farmed, he also started the Vaden Timber Company, which his sons Barry and Brian operate today. Dismukes is also a registered forester in Alabama and Mississippi. He works to promote forestry at the local, state, and national levels.
One of the quotes he told me about is like, those that show up win. You have to be there in order to make things happen. So some just life skills that he is always sharing.
Vicky Roberts of Wynonna is the current president of the Montgomery County Forestry Association. She started participating in the association 10 years ago after her father passed away and the family land was turned into a tree farm. At first glance, Roberts and Dismukes might not appear to have much in common, but she considers him a mentor.
We both have something in common. We both love land, and he's a good steward of the land, and his basic principles about life. You know, he's a big giver. I think that people would not find that out from him because he doesn't like to talk about that. I have a vision for it, but he actually has the land where I can come and see the trails that he has on his property, the ponds. I can come see the visual of what I'm trying to do with the goals for our family property also.
Roberts likes to read through Dismukes' 4-H youth record book because 4-H is where his forestry career started at age 13.
It was in '51, and a new assistant county agent, Mr. Bob Wilson, came into this area, and he was real enthusiastic with a 4-H club. Every school had a 4-H club in those days. He started to work on the kids around here, and he looked at my place and he says, y'all don't farm much, so you need a forestry project.
That led to Forester Ralph Robertson with the Mississippi State University Extension Service helping the young Dismukes to formulate a tree management plan for 65 acres of his family's land. Field days were held at the property demonstrating proper tree planting and management. Dismukes' interest in forestry grew. He won the Mississippi and National 4-H Forestry Project Awards in 1957. That led to a 4-year college scholarship from Homelight Chainsaws. Dismukes graduated with a forestry degree from Mississippi State University in 1961. Even in high school, Dismukes' reputation for forestry knowledge caused him to be called as an expert witness in a court case.
When I was 15 years old, I got a subpoena from a judge in Wynonna. And I was subpoenaed as an expert witness in a timber trespass case at 15 years of age. And naturally, it was kind of getting to me, but I went over there and I told them what I knew about timber and what I knew about trespassing, and I guess the guy won his case, and so I guess he was happy.
Dismukes continued to share his forestry knowledge while he operated his timber buying company. He tried to persuade every landowner he worked with to replant after the harvest.
I always had a service. If I would make arrangements to get it tree planted and get the TSI and the site preparation work done. Now, I didn't pay for it, but if he'd save enough money to do the paying, I would do all of the work as far as getting it replanted for him. And that still holds today with my sons.
If someone doesn't have a consultant forester of their own, I mean, we've always been, if they want us to, we'd be willing to advise them on how to go about replanting and who to talk to in your extension service and your county foresters, and then they can give them all kinds of advice on that.
Julian Watson, the 2009 Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year, is a client of the Dismukes. For more than 10 years, their Vaden Timber Company is the only one he lets thin the trees on his Holmes County land.
People say, well, why don't you get somebody else? I said, well, you know, I'm very loyal. They've been loyal to me, and I'm loyal to them. They do a great job.
Dismukes not only logged and tree farmed, he spent a lot of time after hours working on behalf of the forest industry. For example, he's a life member of the Mississippi Forestry Association and MFA's foundation. He served in many MFA roles, being an advocate for Mississippi forestry. In 2008, Dismukes received its highest honor, the Meritorious Service to Forestry Award. His active work to promote the forestry profession saw him declared a Fellow of the Society of American Foresters, its highest honor. Locally, Dismukes is a member of 3 county forestry associations.
Charles has been a member of just about every forestry organization I can think of, the Southern Hardwood Group, SAF, MFA. He's a charter member of the Montgomery County Forestry Association and been the president 2 or 3 times.
He has shared his knowledge with a lot of landowners, both here in Montgomery County and in Carroll County also.
Dismukes has also planted seeds for the future of forestry by donating to the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. He funds a scholarship for an ambassador, a student who recruits other students into the college.
What they needed was call it the ambassador scholarship. And actually they give the scholarship to students, and these students in turn recruit other students for the forestry school. And I thought that was a good thing. My wife thought it was a really good thing too.
It was neat for me while I was at Mississippi State. I was an ambassador with the College of Forest Resources, and I received a scholarship from a guy named Charles Dismukes, and I knew he was from Vaden and was the owner of Vaden Timber Company. And it's really neat now that I'm standing on his farm, seeing what all he's done and getting to know him.
The Dismukes family operates a multi-use tree farm where timber production, hunting, recreation, and education work together. It's not unusual to see groups ranging from homeschoolers to Boy Scouts on the Dismukes tree farm. This forestry class from Holmes Community College came recently for an opportunity to work in a managed forest. Field days are not uncommon for local landowners. The future looks promising for the Dismukes tree farm. It remains the center of family activity. One grandson is majoring in surveying while the other is majoring in forestry.
He likes forestry and he likes wildlife, so he's trying to get that double major into that. So he just likes being involved in it. I guess it's in the blood. I tell you, my attitude is that if they told me I wasn't going to live but 2 more weeks, I'd want to plant some trees before I left. And if we don't do that, future generations won't have it. And you can watch this story on Charles Dismukes again on our Farm Week website, our Facebook page, or YouTube. The website address is farmweek.msucares.com. We'll also have some contact information for the MSU Extension Service, the Mississippi Forestry Commission, and the Mississippi Forestry Association. And Leighton, when you get down to it, you know, like 4-H and Boy Scouts, when they are making those opportunities available, that's when it's working the best.
That's right.
Once again, congratulations, Mr. Dismukes. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, the Field of Dreams saga continues.
The farm where the original movie was shot wants to build a baseball theme park where young people can play baseball. Some of the Fields Farm neighbors are concerned that the development will restrict their ability to farm.
In Southern Gardening, the chase tree, this small landscape tree, has blooms and scent. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.